So whoever hasn't yet plugged in to the consciousness of Israelite. Now, Israelite is not a nation. It's not a country. It's not any of these things. It's the consciousness of Israelite is that you function with the aspect of being able to share, receive, and find balance between this light of sharing and receiving. That comes from God. Okay. It's difficult to do this because most people that receive the light of the Creator, the ego comes in right away. Okay. So God came originally to Moses, right? Moses was the most humble man, okay? And he gave him direct speak to God directly, right? And so he had the highest chance of basically becoming egoistic because he could have gone around the next day and be like, I spoke to God directly, right? You know, it's like no one comes as high as me, right? I have so much power, right? So Moses, it says, was the most humble man, even though he spoke so directly to God.
Yes.
But there was one moment where he came down from the mountain with the 10 utterances. And I don't call them 10 commandments because they're not commandments, they're utterances. They're vibrations of sound that move your vibrations, right? So he came down and he saw that the nation is in disarray, right? And for a second, he got so angry. And then he lost prophecy for that second. And then he threw the tablets and then God came to him and said, you know, why don't we do a little deal? How about I create a nation from you? This is all written in the Bible. I'm not like making stories. You could look at this. How about I create a nation from you, right? And you let this nation go. I'm just going to destroy them because they're the older nation from Egypt, and they've got this very stuck consciousness, very hard. We need a new generation, right? So it's hard to really get this nation to change. Why don't I create a nation from you, right? So Moses, being so humble, knowing his beginnings, he said, wait a minute. If a table that has 3 strong legs can't stand, how could a table with 1 leg stand? And he was referring to his past generation, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He said these are the most powerful pillars that created all nations, and you're about to destroy it. So how are you going to make a nation from me, which is just 1 pillar, and then you're going to come and say, let me destroy that too? So he had this dialogue with God, right? I mean, this is like a metaphoric dialogue.
Right, exactly.
But you understand the point? It's like when you have so much appreciation for your past, right? But then God said, okay, and then he said these 13 attributes of mercy to God to kind of recall attributes of mercy within himself and the surroundings. And then the Creator said, okay, I will forgive him. Okay? But then the Creator gave a lot of credit to Moses because he was so humble. He wasn't willing to become the amazing, ultimate power at the cost of his nation being destroyed. He still wanted his nation to exist even though they were the most difficult nation, right? Okay. So now we have Moses. He's very humble. You can see he's not willing to take position. Not even God's suggestion, I'll make you the greatest thing. Let me just... And he even said to God, erase me from the whole Bible. I don't want to be in it if you destroy this nation, right? And in fact, if you read the portion after that, Moses' name is not in that portion at all.
Like where?
Because God said, Moses said, if you're going to destroy the nation, erase me from your whole Bible. So God said, you know what? His words are so powerful, Moses' words, that I have to do something. So God erased him from 1 portion of the Bible, like just 1 section. The Bible is, in Hebrew, is divided into 52 portions of the week. Okay? Each week it has an energy. Okay, like this week is the energy of when they went over the sea and the sea split, the energy of certainty. Right? It always falls in the month of Aquarius when this happens. So now, after this occurred, then there's the story of a man named Balaam. Have you ever heard of Balaam? Or Bilam?
Balaam, yes.
Balaam? Okay.
Yes.
So Balaam was the exact replica of the other half of Moses' soul. Okay? But he hadn't experienced that grounding of the root chakra to become balanced so that he can experience that much light without becoming egoistic. So God gave him exactly the same power and just wanted to show that look, different people handle power differently,
Mm-hmm.
right? So he had the power to even find an exact moment of the day where the negative angels were available and to curse people, and it would work, right? So this person named Balak, who was the king of this certain nation, came and hired Balaam,
Yes.
and said, I want you to find the weak point in the Israelites and curse exactly at that hour so that we could destroy them. Because the nation is growing really fast, and I'm afraid they're going to take over. He felt
Right.
threatened.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, the Israelites were not really threatening them. They were just studying all day, intense. But he felt the energy was so vast, he thought they're like trying to expand to take over, right? So he said, okay, well, I have to speak to God. He went and asked God, do you mind, he prayed to God to see if God gives him permission to actually curse.
Mm-hmm.
So God, in whatever language of prophetic thing is, God didn't say do or don't, but he said, go and do something else until it comes to you. Meaning God's answer was no, but he didn't want to say directly. He had to come to it on his own. So he went and brought 7 cows and did this and did that. And then he was riding his donkey. His donkey kept hitting aside, if you read this portion. And then he hit his donkey and he said, am I not your beautiful donkey that I've always been with you? Why are you hitting me? I'm trying to tell you what God's word is. You're going the wrong path, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so he just kept trying to see if he can manipulate and rationalize God's words to see if he could do the curse, because he was getting paid,
Right. Exactly.
right? So the point is, then in the deeper teachings, it talks about how God said that I gave power to Moses. He was the most humble man on earth. I gave the same exact power to Balaam, and he got so egoistic, and all he wanted to do was use it to curse, right? And then he finally went ahead and did the curse, and then his tongue got twisted and the curse became backwards and it became a blessing, which up to today in the prayer books, in the biblical prayer books, the highest blessing that's ever there is Balaam's curse turned into a blessing.
Wow.
Right? So it was a transformation, and something that it was a miraculous thing that God actually turned, because his curse would have destroyed the whole nation. Actually. It was that strong. So the point is, an Israelite consciousness at a more mystical level has nothing to do with a religion. It has nothing to do with a people. It has to do with raising to the elevated consciousness of going from Jacob consciousness to Israelite consciousness. Because God changed Jacob's name to Israel. Right? And Israel represents the consciousness of being able to handle all the heavenly powers coming into you, and you not getting egoistic, being able to handle that.
Okay.
Because we can have so much light from the sun, when it hits you, without the ozone layer, it can burn you, right? So knowing how to manage all that is the filter that we need. And that's why I said to you, Micaiah, I said, you have a lot of energy, we need to create some powerful strategic filters for this energy to disperse slowly, because it can burn people. It's so powerful, right? So energy by itself is raw. It can do good or destroy. How you manage it. So coming back to the Israelite consciousness, and now I want to go back to your name, Goy. Okay? Your name means other nations. Okay? It means that you have the ability to help other nations that are not at Israel consciousness to gain access to that intermediate level so that they can transcend. You're the bridge.
Wow. I'm the bridge.
You're the bridge.
Wow.
Okay. And I'm going to tell you what this means. So the Gia sound, okay, it represents Ga'ava, which means ego.
Ego.
I'm going to teach you how to transcend that in a minute. Okay? The Vav sound, the V sound in this letter, represents the middle ground between the upper world and the lower world. Upper, lower. It's also one of God's names. You have 2 of God's name in your name also. It's interesting. You both have, there's 26 letters in the Hebrew alphabet. And both of you have 2 of God's 4-letter name in there. 2 for you, 2 for you. So that's like only like a 7% chance that could occur, like in a name. Okay, and it's for both of you. So, and then the Yud is the male light energy of God. Okay, so there's also a mantra how to say this. I'm going to teach it to you. So goy, so it's mending with the ego, right? Learning to take in the light, but then learning to balance it, right? The connecting it with the upper world and the lower world, letting it come into your body and going through. And then the yud is channeling it through the light force. You have a powerful way of channeling with your mind. You have a very strong mind. Like, even though you're a woman with intuition and all the emotions, but you're the type that could be very persistent and with strength when you want to. You could stand up for it when you want to. So you have that ability. Now let's do the numerical values. It's 3, so it's 3, 6, and 10. So that's 9 and 10, 19. 19, 1 and 9 equals 10. Okay, so your numerical value is 10. Okay?
Wow.
And
That's
10 is a
government.
very powerful, huh?
10 is a very powerful.
10 mean government?
Well, maybe if you've heard that, I don't know about it. Maybe
Right,
yes.
okay.
10 is the most powerful in terms of, first of all, the way it is in math. It's just increments are like building blocks, powerful building blocks. And then also everything in the teachings of, let's say, energy and Zohar is about 10, not 7. 7 is natural, 8, 9, 10 is supernatural, right? So there's something called the 10 sfirot, the 10 emanations of how the light of the Creator hides itself so that we don't get burned from it. And these 10 emanations are Keter, Chochmah, Bina, Chesed, Gevurah, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, Malchut. And they correlate with the 7 lower chakras, But then there's 3 upper chakras. Keter means Ketherian. Chochmah means right brain. Bina means left brain intuition. Chesed is the heart chakra. Gvura is the restraint where you hold back. Tiferet is the balance between the two. Netzach is going the extra mile. Yesod is the foundation right here, the sacral and navel. And then Malchut is manifestation. Okay? So 10 represents this totality. Okay. 10 utterances, 10 commandments, 10 totality, 10 sfirot. There's a lot of 10s. Now, I'm going to teach you a money wisdom here. It says in the Bible, tithe your money. Okay, 10%. Okay. It says, aser tit aser. You shall certainly give 10%. Aser tit aser. Okay. But if you change one dot from aser tit aser, meaning you shall certainly give 10%. Aser means 10. Okay. If you change one dot from the s sound, it becomes a sh sound. It becomes give 10% and you shall get rich.
That's what that
The
means?
code is in there.
Right.
Okay? So if you change the one dot from s to sh, instead of you shall certainly give 10%, it becomes you shall give 10% and you become rich. Because osher is rich, aser is 10. It's the same words except one dot moved. Okay? So that's a little secret, and the 10 represents that powerfully. So I want you to start manifesting money with the consciousness that from now on you will calculate your 10% before it even comes in. And be ready for it. Because that's going to produce a lot for you. So the 10% is not yours anyways.
Right, exactly.
The 10% belongs to Satan.
Right.
The 10% is the worm in the silk that destroys the 90%.
It destroys the 90%.
The other 90% of the money.
Okay.
So if you hold on to the 10%,
Okay.
you're actually holding on to the bribe that you're supposed to give to the Satan, Satan, so he can go away. It's like a dog. You throw him a bone and he just quiets down. That's his bone. Okay? So 10% of all your income should be given away. It's not yours. Now the cool thing is, if you think in this consciousness, you're gonna make, instead of 100%, you make 110% anyways. Right? The money that's gonna come to you is gonna include more money so you can give away the 10%. But if you don't think like this, it doesn't come like that. So you have to have that consciousness before it comes, not afterwards.
Right, before it happens.
Okay, so that's for today.
Thank you.
You're welcome.